Hi everybody, I'm Luke Beneker, and this is my presentation called The Making of a Product Manager. So I designed this actually in response to a lot of questions that I get from early stage product managers or folks that want to get into product management, asking me what do they need to learn how to do to become a better product manager or to become a product manager. So I created this deck to outline in roughly 20 minutes some basic foundational skills for product managers and then what it means to level up those skills. I'm going to start off quickly with an introduction. I currently work for Home Depot. I'm a senior manager of product management. My background is varied. I started off in consulting where I was doing recruiting consultation and with a little bit of web consultation on the side. And when I was doing consulting, and this is really what led me to product management, I actually had the opportunity to work for Google on a director of Google Maps search. This was the first time they were actually looking for somebody to own the product outside of the person who built it from the ground up. So I got the opportunity to meet with Marissa Mayer at the Googleplex and talk about what Google thought about product and what they valued in product management, what they built for customers. And that was really a turning point for me. I decided after that I was going to get much closer to the technology and get out of recruiting. And from there, I went to a startup, which is a great place to get into technology, to get into product, because you can own just about anything. You don't necessarily have to have the title. You just need to have the willpower. And when I was there at LoyalTree, this was a point of sale integrated mobile loyalty company. So it was like the Starbucks app, really before the Starbucks app took off in the way that it did, how popular it is today. And what I owned there was marketing, customer support, design, customer onboarding. And there was no product at that point. So a lot of what I wanted to build was because I had incoming customer support requests. I was very close to the customer. I was also close to the business user who was buying our products because I was helping to deploy them. So bringing those two together, I worked a lot with our engineering teams to come up with more frictionless experiences, more sticky experiences. And of course, because it's loyalty, there was a lot of gamification involved, which was a blast. And basically, that was my first kind of foray into really owning a tech product or a digital product. From there, I went to Amazon where I worked on Prime Day, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and I was the product owner for the Today's Deals page, which was live in about a dozen countries. My first title as a true product manager was at Amazon, and I owned a business unit that was in the several double-digit billions in revenue worldwide. Phenomenal experience where I really learned scale and learned some of the fundamentals that I'm going to talk to you about today and some of the traits that I found and I emulate even today in really successful product managers. From there, I was enticed to go over to Home Depot to lead a team of product managers where I lead managers of product and individual contributors to create top-of-the-funnel digital experiences. So really excited today to walk through this presentation, which is, I'm calling it the 5 pillars of product management. And these are the traits that I found that make really successful product managers. And this is really about going from good to great. And that's why I'm excited to share this with you, because I think there's a lot of things in here that it's well understood that this is a basic function of product management. It's getting to that great status, getting to be really good at your craft that I think needs to be talked about more. And that's one of the things I'm excited to bring to you. So the way that I'm talking about this is two ways. There's the foundation for what any product manager should be expected. And then there's the leveling up of that characteristic. So how are you taking that to the next level? So I'm going to break it out in that way in this presentation for you. So I'm going to go through each of the traits, starting with curiosity. And this is the foundation for curiosity. When I think of a curious product manager, I think of somebody who's curious about their customer. They want to know who their customer is. If they're starting off going to a new company, they might be thinking about the vision of that company, and they're curious about what that company's doing for their customer. And they're also curious about building digital experiences. But most product managers getting into this field are going to be curious about building a tangible digital experience. So when you bring that to an interview, it's not necessarily something that's going to level you up. You're just at the playing field of everyone else where you're interested in building a digital experience for customers. That's a base level. Being curious can be taken to the next level in a big way by being curious about the data and about the technology, especially the architecture. How is something built? How does the code work? Spending some time to understand that is going to earn a lot of trust with with engineers, and it will make you a better product manager. One of the other things that I find really effective product managers do is constantly making hypotheses to prove out an idea. So thinking about, well, if I change this, is it going to improve conversion in this way? If I change this, our customer is going to be more willing to purchase if I present a product or a message or a feature in this way versus that way. Constantly having those ideas and that curiosity feeds a really healthy backlog of tests. Also, the one thing that I find in great product managers is being super curious about what other people are doing in the competitive landscape, meaning if you're the subject matter expert, not just caring about what's in your wheelhouse, but how is somebody else doing something? If you say you own subscriptions, it's great that you know how your product works, and maybe you know how Subscribe and Save works on Amazon because a lot of people use that. But what other businesses are out there that are building a subscription model where it's maybe core to their business and they do it really, really better than anyone else? An example would be like Chewy. They're built off of a subscription revenue base. They have an app that does this really well. So are you thinking about how the people who are innovating are doing this? Just makes you a subject matter expert. It earns a lot of trust at the end of the day. The next piece is ownership, which is really big for me. This is big for me because it's big for Amazon. It was something that was really ingrained in me. And I find that really good product managers are consummate owners of things, and they will make a feature, they will make a product release at all costs, making sure that they know how to do it all. And at Amazon, it's a bit different than other companies because it is so self-service. You're required to do a lot of things on your own. But being an owner helps in that you're the one at the end of the day who cares about getting that feature out and released. You care about telling others how good it did. You're curious about letting other people know that it's worthwhile, that we're spending our money in a worthwhile way. So the foundation of ownership really, and if you're not a product manager, this speaks to you. You could have ownership over a project or a process, may not necessarily be a feature, but showing that you have taken that thing, especially from ideation to release, and it could, like I said, it could be a process, doesn't necessarily have to be a piece of code. Those are the things you want to point to as a product manager that wouldn't have happened without you. That's why ownership is really important. And when you think about leveling up, the really great product managers are thinking about their project end to end. They're thinking about, how do I line up other teams? How do I make sure that everyone stays on track? Even if I don't have direct ownership or control over what they do, how am I making sure that at the end of the day, I can measure it, that I know that it worked, and I can tell other teams and I can tell leadership why this thing was important. Another great aspect of this is being able to own a cross-organization feature. So something that maybe another VP has to work on, has to have a team work on. Maybe that person doesn't care so much about your problems. How do you lead across organizations? And doing that at scale is really tough because you need to get people all on the same page. You have to be able to keep them accountable. So owning big projects usually means owning very cross-functional and even cross-org projects. Showing ownership around that is leading in a way that's really important for a product manager to understand and to do well. The final piece is ownership at scale. This is more of if you have the opportunity to do so or not. But ownership at scale means that small changes, and sorry, my video is kind of freaking out a little bit, but ownership means that that when you're making a small change on a scaled project or product, there could be an outsized impact to that change. For example, if I'm working on a feature that's double-digit billions of dollars each year, my few bips in conversion improvement could be worth tens of millions of dollars. So I'm going to put a lot of effort into measuring and knowing exactly what I'm releasing, because the scale is going to lead to instant escalations if you're not doing the right thing, and really it'll lead to a big impact in customer behavior that's really noticeable. So owning something at scale is another really important aspect of that next level of ownership. Third piece is empathy. You probably hear this a lot if you're a product manager, that you need to put customers first. You need to be empathetic to customers. Hopefully that's of no surprise to you. And your customer could be the person purchasing your product on an e-com site, the person who's adding to cart. I mean, it could actually be an internal owner or an internal customer. So you're building something for an internal customer. It doesn't matter who the customer is. if you're building for someone, you need to have a ton of empathy for how they're experiencing it. And when I mean a ton of empathy, there's ways to level this up. And that would be things like empathy for accessibility. If you have someone who's colorblind or someone who requires a screen reader, are you really having empathy for all your customers, not just the 99% or the 90%, as it may be? Do you have empathy for platform parity? A lot of times we want to build for mobile app and desktop. We forget about tablet, or we forget about older form factor phones. Having empathy for all customers is really, how are customers going to break this experience? How are they going to use it incorrectly, or even hack it so that they can use it in a way they want to use it? The other is, again, if you've had the experience to do this and you are working for a company that has an interconnected experience, like Home Depot, empathy for an in-store environment. So how something is used physically in store, and how customers interact with that in-store thing, and how is that replicated online. A great example of this would be something like a clearance badge. If there's a clearance badge that's in Home Depot, and customers who shop that, they know what clearance badge means. Maybe they've shopped it before. They know that it means a discount of some sort. If you don't have that same experience with the same badge, the same marketing online, you're going to confuse customers. So you want to make sure that those in-store and those on-site experiences work together well, and that they complement each other. Another way that we do that is, you open up your mobile app when you're in a store, you might get a different layout for your homepage than if you're not in a store. And we know that based on geofencing. So how are we really creating a tailored experience for somebody who's in store and making sure it works? The next piece is organization. This one does not come to me naturally whatsoever. It's something that I've had to learn, but I've emulated because I've noticed really successful product managers are also hyper-organized people. The foundation is just being self-organized. How am I managing my day? My Trello board, my Kanban that tells me what I need to get done today. You really need to be good at managing your own time, because as a product manager, you have a million things that you need to get done, and you have to prioritize your own day like you prioritize a backlog. Creating team organization. So if you're working with a team on a broader goal, how are you making sure that everyone is on the same page and that you know what everyone's working on? These are foundational, albeit not the next level of organization. This is what you really just need to be a okay product manager. You need to be able to manage a backlog. That doesn't, for those who aren't product managers, that doesn't necessarily mean a backlog of stories that are shovel ready for engineering. That could also mean a backlog of processes or things that you need to get done on a project, right? It doesn't necessarily need to mean you're working in Jira prioritizing a backlog of engineering items. Now, what I've seen product managers do to take this to the next level is really being great at project management. So setting milestones and progress for the team, understanding at any point in time, I need this thing and I'm going to need it on this day, which means, I don't want to wait until that day that I need it. I need to figure out how to unlock that dependency for my team months in advance. You can only do that through consummate organization. The other is managing teams, and so knowing what and when is required. So you think of like a Gantt chart of when something is being worked on and when I'm going to need the next thing, making sure that you have all of that lined up so that you know from start to finish, working backwards from your date of launch, what you need to do, taking into account things like testing, taking into account bug fixes. It's not always the happy path. You always have to be a bit paranoid, and that's, I think, what helps when you're organized. It helps you to be paranoid but know what to do about it. Otherwise, you're just simply stressing out. The last piece is organization of thoughts and presentation. This is really key because communication is not one of the pillars that I put in this deck, and that was on purpose because I think as a consummate organizer, if you're able to organize your thoughts in ways that make sense for people to understand, then you're going to be able to communicate effectively in written or verbal communication. So being organized is also being able to present an organized story. And that goes for how you speak to your engineers and how easy it is for them to understand what you want. And it also goes a really long way, especially for executives who don't need you to boil the ocean and tell you about every technical dependency that you have. They want to understand things from a story. Why should my team help you with this? So being organized is going to help with that in a really big way. The last piece is technical ability. And again, for all of these traits, I should have mentioned at the very beginning, these are learned for the most part. You're not born with these 5 traits for the most part. You will learn that as a product manager and being a good product manager, you need to double down on some of these things and get better at them. And being technical is of no exception, obviously. We expect a base level of foundational technical ability in product managers. And one of the ways that you can assess that is the ability to query a data set. Can you use a structured query language to get data out of a large data set? That's a great analog for being able to understand other technical concepts. Are you able to analyze those large data sets? Do you know what to make of the data? And do you understand the software development lifecycle? Foundational. Now, when you start taking it to the next level, you really need, as a product manager, to understand the basics of code. You don't need to code, but you need to understand the basics, like why are you using this code versus another code? What does it help you do? What does it hold you back from? Why would we use this versus something else? What libraries are available? What's easier for my team to pick up? A lot of these are simply tactics that will help you earn trust with your engineering partners. Same goes with understanding architecture. Understanding how something is built technically, how data flows, understanding the architecture of the services that are used is really important to be able to recommend in the future how to make things better from an architectural standpoint. There's a dearth of people in this world that understand architecture, which is a lot of times why there is an architect. But if product can understand that, you're leading and you're helping in a way that a lot of product managers don't. So this is a great thing to learn about. There's a lot of resources out there to help you do that for free as well. Understanding specific services and data layers that are unique to your company. This comes with time, obviously, but when you start as a product manager, you learn there is a lot you don't know, and you start to kind of paint a picture for how to get data out of systems and what services are available, what APIs and endpoints are in your company available to use. Being someone who can collect that information, make sure that they have a complete understanding of how to get things done from a technical perspective, again, earns a ton of trust with your engineering partners, because you can go to them and give them ideas on how to make something work, and it just makes you work faster. So a lot of product management, when it comes to being technical, it is very specific to the company. So understanding how each company gets data, what kind of cloud services they use, the more that you can get that piece down, the better you're going to work with your engineering team. So that was a pretty quick run through, but I hope that you got some good advice out of this. And I think that this presentation will probably change over time. There are things that I will add, but I do see that out of these 5 traits, when you're looking at being someone who wants to get into product, if you really want to get into product, look at the foundation. Am I there yet? And how do I make that happen? How do I show that I've done that thing is going to be a great step into being a product manager. And for those who are product managers, do a self-assessment. Are you doing the things that are tactics described in this presentation that might help you level up? So I hope this helped. Thanks for watching.